Hey guys, this is Ray with School of Racing Graphics. In this video, we're going to go through some seamless patterns. I'm always going to, at the beginning of the video, probably talk a little bit about my product, but in the video, I'm going to go much further than the product. But I always want to show you what I'm using in case you want it and you know how to get it. So this is a seamless vector pack that we're going to be coming out with probably in the next day or two. And I'm going to go through this video and show you how to use seamless packs, whether they pattern tile, they don't tile in the background, meaning you can't see the seam, or you're using a horizontal one and using it with as much capability as it has to offer. Because I think a lot of times these end up misunderstood and then misused. So I'm going to be using this horizontal or vertical pattern. I'm going to throw it in the back of a dirt modified wrap template. I'm going to keep the wrap super simple, super clean, not do anything overly complex. And so you can see if you go to the website at surgifx.com, there's a lot of these. They're just called seamless backgrounds, and they're just vector backgrounds that tile seamlessly. And so I put in there, I put ones that will go vertical and horizontal. I mean, they'll just fill any shape no matter what. And then there's also ones that just go horizontal, or if you flip them 90 degrees, they'll go vertical. But I'm going to show you today how to use them in your background so that they flow with your design and you're not limited to just using a square after a square after a square. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go to here and really all three of these are the horizontal ones or vertical. I call them horizontal or vertical because you can see they grade out so that there's not it would just tile like this. You would see it one on top of the other. Now, if you want to turn these into a seamless tile, you can just by taking them and duplicating it and rotate it. And then just make sure that it's one right over top of the other. Oops, sorry. Transform, rotate 180. Like that. So now this would be a seamless tile. So you're not limited in that way. You would have to create it yourself. I don't put those in the pack like that because I don't want you to think that I'm just flipping one and trying to pop another one in there and say that there's 11 or 12 of them in there when there's really not. So then once you have that, then you can just throw that straight into your swatches. If you're in Flexi, I think you right click and say make seamless tile. And then you'll see there it tiles seamlessly. So you can see what the possibilities are. But I just want to use it as the horizontal in this one. So I'm going to bring it over to this dirt modified and paste it in. And I'm going to want to create a couple of them. And so you might, I'm not going to go too fast, but well, I'll just slow down. How's that sound? So I'm going to take two of these and I'm going to create two different colors. So I've got my graphic colors here. So I'm going to use pretty close to black and then a darker red one. And then you're going to want to open up your brushes panel. And your brushes panel you're going to see how powerful these are or how easy it is to use them. I'm going to make sure that these are in my graphics layer. I just always like to keep my workspace nice and clean if I can. Now, a lot of times what guys will do is they'll take these because they know they can't go, they're not seamless up and down, just left and right, or up and down and not left and right. They'll just take these and repeat them like this and then close up the gaps in them. And you can do that. That's fine. So you would just click that one, align it. That closes up the gaps. Now you got a repeatable pattern. But it's a really rigid workflow. It's a really rigid workflow. It will be on the site soon. Whoever it is that's asking, all I see is its Facebook user. But yeah, it'll be on the site either tonight or tomorrow morning. So it's a really rigid workflow. You can't flex this into your graphics or make it, like if you got a flowing graphic or a wave type graphic, you want it to actually flow as a wave with it or kind of match the theme. So there's a way to do that. So we're going to take this guy, I'm going to delete these two, and I'm just going to drop them into my brushes here. So you want to make sure your brushes window is open. And the way to do that is you just go to window and then go down here to brushes. Let me unclick this. Window, brushes. This list is in alphabetical order, so just make sure that that's open. If it's not open, it'll pop open somewhere on your screen. And so I'm going to drag and drop that into brushes. And I'm just going to call it a pattern brush. Now, there's some other things you could do with scatter and art brush. I'm not going to get into that right now. So I'm going to make it a pattern brush, and it shows me that it's going to follow a path. So super small on my screen. It's not, can't get it much bigger. But you can see there it's seamless, and it's going to follow a path. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. You could flip it. You could flip it across, so it could be upside down. You got all kinds of different options here. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And now I can just leave that there. And I'm going to do the same thing with this guy. Actually, what I could do is I could just take this and duplicate it. And then I could take this red one and hold down the Option key or the Alt key if you're on a Mac. And so I'm going to go ahead and drop this on here, holding down the Option key, and then it'll just replace what's there. Don't drop it on the first tile because that's a corner tile, and it'll only replace the corner tile. I'm not going to explain that right now, but basically you want to drop it on one of these two. William McClough is asking, does our starter program show a step-by-step for new designers? William, if you go to our website and type in Mastering Adobe Illustrator, that course will teach you how to use Adobe Illustrator, which is the program I'm using now. And then once you're familiar with Adobe Illustrator, you could take Mastering Race Wraps course. And both of them work as though you are very unfamiliar with the industry. So they're Mastering Adobe Illustrator. That's going to make you familiar with Adobe Illustrator, the program I'm in, and then the Mastering Race Wraps will show you how I lay out modifieds and show you step-by-step how to lay out like modifieds, dirt late models, and other types of race cars, just like I have this one here. Okay, so I've got these two brushes, enough sales. I got these two brushes created, a red one and a black one. I'm going to leave these here just for convenience sake, but now I'm going to create a path. So I'm going to just use my pen tool, which I hit P, and that's the pen. So now you can see over here in the top menu, that's the one selected. And I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to put a slight wave in it like that. Nothing intentional, just enough to, just to kind of show what we're going to do here. And then you want to take the fill off of it. Okay, like that. And then we're going to throw the black pattern on it. Okay, so now you can see it's going to tile seamlessly. No matter how big we make it, it's just going to keep tiling. So we can keep pulling it and it'll just keep tiling. So now if I want to do something in the wrap that is a little more flexible than just rigid squares, I got a lot more I can work with. And I don't think of these seamless patterns. I don't think of them as just an element in the background. I like them for any style of design. So it could be just the wrap design itself, depending on the pattern. So again, I could pull these X's in and do the same thing. And I'll show you something cool here is now that I've done that and I've got this created, I could pull these X's over here, hold down Option, and just replace this brush pattern. And it'll update over here when I click OK. Apply to strokes. And now you can see it updates here. And so I could just keep doing that or duplicate my brushes so that I can keep making new ones with these. So that's the kind of the basic point there. So I want to pull this guy up here, get him into the wrap design. I like these simple, like go from one color to the other color wrap designs. I think that they look really cool. I know, you know, I like to be able to design any style race car. So I never think of like, this is my style and this is how I'm going to do it. I try to test myself and develop skills in all the different styles. So this is just a basic kind of one color broken into a two color in the clothing industry, and maybe even you could say the art industry, they would call it ombre, where you kind of have one color or one shape flowing into the next color or the next shape, but it's kind of like a gradient, but it's not exactly a perfect gradient. It's broken a little bit. I kind of wish that let's see, let's do this. So those are just gradients. But you get the idea. So here, this is a good example of ombre, where it is a gradient, but it's got some texture in it. So you can see there, it's kind of like broken up here in the middle. It's not a great example, actually. It's just okay, but you kind of get the idea. So that's what we're going for here. Is it's called ombre, O-M-B-R-E, ombre. And you know, if you like, this is ombre hair, like that's what the girl, my wife will always call it. I love that ombre or whatever. It's just, you know, different colors in their hair. So it's the same concept. We're on race cars, right? Same basic concept. We're just creating an ombre effect in the race car. And you can see already, it already really works because I'm using two colors that are quite saturated, black, which technically isn't a color, and then red. And so they stack on top of each other really well without taking legibility off of my 7 or my sponsors. So I can stack them. Now, if this was like white, a white background, the panels were white, then it starts getting into a really hairy place with the contrast. Now, like the white in the sponsors and stuff starts bleeding out, and it's a little bit harder to differentiate what you're looking at. So keeping it dark, but we can, you know, you could do anything with it: red, blue, black, green, as long as it's saturated. All right, so now I'm just taking the back and I'm anchoring my graphic to the back of the car. So now we're going from front to back. And I'm going to drop that down there. So now you see, so I'm going to go ahead and save this and it'll update over here on my detail template. And just kind of give me an idea. And I'm going to say yes. There you go. You can kind of see that broken in. And so there's more that we can do with it. And of course, I always like to do a little bit more. So we've got this red brush in here as well. So I'm going to take this guy here and I'm going to turn this one red and I'm going to send it to the back. But I'm not just going to do that. I'm not just going to take it and send it to the back. I want to make sure that my textures don't, see how they're very similar? I want to make sure that my textures don't look similar. So there's a lot of different ways I can go about this. I can offset that so that the pieces that are similar are farther away from each other. But what I'm going to do is actually make it look more ombre. Is I've got one bigger, the black one, and then I'm going to have one smaller. And so because this is a brush, now you can adjust the size of it in the strokes panel. So I can go 0.7 pixels. I'm working in pixels because I'm not working in life-size wrap. Just working on a digital file. And now you can see gives it a totally different feel right there. And then I would have to just anchor my red to the back like I did with the black. So I'll do this. Like that. That's nice and clean. And I could get kind of crazy and send that to the back. This is probably too much, but go down to 0.3 and then have another one back there that's kind of smaller. And so you can see, you can start playing with those different dimensions like that. I don't particularly like that. I think those details are just a little too small for this particular look. I like the big, bold look. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And the other thing that is being accomplished in it as well as far as design theory goes is we're creating a contrast from the front of the car to the back of the car. And so your eye is going to be drawn in. So you got to consider your the design theory as well as you're designing. It isn't just throwing graphics into anywhere and then just calling it a day. You got to consider where people's eyes are being drawn. And so the 7 stands out and pops really well on the red along with the Gatlin auto sales. But then the Calhoun is over on black. So it draws your eye to 2 different priorities at 2 different times instead of everything just all receiving one priority. Again, it's design theory. So there's, there's times when it works, there's times when it doesn't, but you have to think those kinds of things through. We're not just slapping designs into a car. We're actually trying to make it work in a way that's helpful to the overall design. So I'm gonna just move this up a little bit more and then scale it down just a little bit. that. And we'll do this one. We'll do this one a little bit like that. So, and I really like kind of wanting that broken effect to be up in this area here, so you could just see a little bit more of it. So I'll pull that up here, hit save. What I do is to make the Illustrator process the update faster as I go out of Illustrator and come back in, and it gives me that little prompt to update the file, and that's why you keep seeing me do that. It's just a little tip if you do link your templates in. So there you go. You can kind of see it works out pretty well, and then you can kind of play around with a couple other ideas. Maybe you want to have it broken in the front as well. Right now, these dirt modifiers, they don't have a lot of canvas in the front, but you can have it go across the hood. So maybe the front of the car is kind of going to be black. And I'm being really sloppy with my shapes here, but you get the basic idea. And I'll send that to back. And again, and then once I was done, once I had these all placed where I wanted them to be, I would clean up all my work and cut stuff out. So now I'm going to go ahead and save that to see how it looks over on the front. So there you go. You can kind of see, mostly people typically don't print this piece out. They put a decal there. It's just such a small piece, but you get the idea. It looks pretty neat. Then I would probably run it across the hood. There's other things you could do as well. So I can think of the design completely different altogether. And let's say I want to hide this, and I'm going to take these two guys and bring them over here. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hide these as well. I can take you got your vertical and you got your horizontal like style designs, right? So I could take this here, just kind of run it up like that. And then if I don't like all the cracks being so intense, like I want it to go to solid black at the bottom, but if I don't like all the cracks being so intense, I can turn this down to 5, something like that. Kind of allows it to do this. And I could do the same thing here, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it to the red one. So did you see what I did there? I just duplicated it and then clicked on the red one, and then it gave me the red one. And then I can move that up. So I'd have to rework my Longhorn logo here. My screen is 27 inches. And the reason I put everything on my screen while I'm recording is so that you can see what I'm doing. Otherwise, I would have a dual screen, and all my tools would be off to the side, and you wouldn't know what I was doing. So I keep it all there. But I'm used to it now, and now it's just second nature to me. So I know that all my main tools are out; they're right here. So it's not very hard for me to remember exactly what I'm doing. I'm just being kind of sloppy right now. Come on, baby. There we go. Something like that. Probably wouldn't be Longhorn approved, but you get the idea. Just because I was starting to run it up into there, and it would just make it difficult. I'd probably rework this Jeff City Gatlin thing over here as well. But you get the basic idea. Now, there's a lot of other things you could do here too. You don't just have to stick with the solid colors. I like the solid colors, but and I think it works really well. But like, let's say you had like a graphic that wound in the background. So again, you could just pull this up here. Again, keep your path clean. So you only got like, 2 or 3 points, and it just helps it, it helps it so that it's much more manageable. Something like that. Now you can see it kind of flows up, and then you just pop some black back down here. Like that. Now you can see you got a whole nother thing happening there than what we started. So we got 3 different things, and we've hardly experimented with any of it. And then I could just drag and drop this here, and it'll give me the X's instead of the broken. I call it broken concrete. That's why I named this car the concrete, something like that. So the other cool thing too is this is just an extra tip. So because I like to give out as many tips as possible, I will probably talk about global colors to some degree on every video, just because of how awesome they are and easy they are to use. And so because I set this car up with global colors, it'll be really easy. If I didn't want it to be red, and I created the brushes, I created these brushes with global colors because the elements had a global color applied to them, right? So I'm going to go ahead. Now I was talking about solid colors a second ago. So now what I can do is I want to be able to get back to these if I need it. But if I want them to have a gradient in them, I could gradient them before I throw them in as a brush. So I could do this. So we're going to go from, let's see, this is dark red. So I'm going to take my, get over here, dark red. And then I'm going to go to the bright red. And I'm going to go 90, like that. But I don't want it to be a lot of bright red. I just kind of want it to fade out. And then I can go back to my brushes and again, hold down Option, drag and drop it over top. And just like that. No. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. You cannot put gradients in a brush. So we would have to do this a different way. So the way we're going to do it, we're going to go to Object, Expand Appearance. And once we've expanded the appearance like this, now you can see it's got all the tiles in it, the shape that we made it. Okay. So I went to Object, Expand Appearance. And I'm going to turn it all into one shape. So I'm just going to hit Unite it, go to Make Compound Shape, and then expand it. And then I'm just going to eyedropper this guy. And now you can see we're getting more of a fading effect, which is kind of cool. It looks a little bit sinister, kind of dig it. I'm going to hit G. That's going to give me control of my gradient so that my gradients aim the direction that I want them to. You kind of see there, it just gives it a little more detail, a little more texture. And I can pull it down some. Like that. Pull it down a little bit more. Like that. And I can do the same thing with the black one. So I'm going to go black here. And then I'm going to turn this like that. And that's going to give me that dark red ombre, but I just want it to be at the top. I don't want it to be I want it to be close to the bottom. Clean this up. Now, depending on the pattern too, your performance of your computer can start to suffer. So just be aware of that. And again, I'm going to control it a little bit. Just try to bring in a little bit more of that red in a subtle way, though. I don't need it to be super intense. And now you can start to see how the dimensions are working through. And this is how you get the detailed textures that kind of look like, they're not difficult to do, but once you it adds a little bit of mystery to the design. So go ahead and do that. Yeah, that's right. Have a lot of memory. All right, so now you can kind of see. So now I'm going to make sure, just be careful when you're doing that, the gradient thing, because even though I put a solid shape here, and then I pop the gradient on there, that black line could show up in your print. So it's better to just weld those two guys together and then do all that work. That way there's no possibility for messing all that up. Like that. So you can kind of see. And that's about as much as I'll mess with it. Kind of like the direction that's gone. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now you can see over here, it's pretty cool looking. It's got a lot of dimension in it, right? And I'll pop that in my portfolio. So I'd like it to be a little bit more black down here. You can see how it goes red to black plastic. I always like my graphic, if I can get it, the graphic to match the plastic, if possible. It's not a requirement, but it makes the design look a little bit less broken when you do that. So I'm just going to tilt this just a little more that way. And then probably bring the black up a little bit. That helps it. Go ahead and hit save. So I really like the result here that we got. Everything's still pretty readable. And then the cool thing is you know, you don't have to, as long as you're building in global colors, you should always build in global colors. If you're not building in global colors, you're doing it wrong. I'm just, I don't mean that as criticism. Just saying, like, do yourself a favor. It makes it a lot easier when you work in globals because now I can go back and change stuff really easily. I can take this guy here and bring it down there and then group it together. And not really interested in it going up by the hood as much as I kind of like what's happening just down here on the nose, just so it kind of matches a little bit. So then I'll just do a simple strike through with my eraser tool. And that's the other cool thing too about these screens is you could just reverse them out and then you end up with chunks instead of holes. If that makes sense. You don't, this step that I'm doing here, you don't have to always do it. I like to do it so that just my artwork is clean. I've got stuff flying all around my canvas. Like that. Still probably needed a little bit more black down there. Yep, there we go. So now you can kind of see it looks pretty neat there. I would tweak this black more. I'm going to probably actually tweak it a little bit more, but you get the basic idea just to get the plastic. But here's the cool thing now. I keep talking about global colors, and here's how to get them. Here's why they're important is because let's say this car is actually not going to be red. It's going to be green or whatever. So now I could just go into my globals and take this guy here and whatever my colors are, I could just pop that there. You're probably most likely going to work with swatches that are registered to your printer. I'm just freestyling right now. And then do this. And go Okay. And then pull that up to the panels. Just holding down Option. So now I got like a green car, you know. Did I put in that? What did I put in there? Background color too. There it is. And I keep the swatches separate so that I can change out those pieces separately if I wanted to later. And so now I could just come over here with this saved. This is just going to auto update. Same basic idea. You can see just like that. And then update the rivets as well. I've got the rivets colored on the car to be the color, whatever. No, there is not really a way. In Flexi, it's not as flexible as far as setting up global colors. This is why I mean I think I'm not going to down Flexi. It has its place. It's a good program, and so, man, I don't know. Harry Gant won 6 races in a row in the Skull car, Nathan. You remember? It's Mr. September, Skull Green. So anyway, no, is there a way to, the global color thing is kind of it's really robust in Adobe Illustrator. I know Flexi has options. They're not cross compatible between Flexi and Illustrator. So if I set up globals in Illustrator, when I open it in Flexi, it's not going to do the same thing. It's going to actually do a lot of banding and breaking and do a lot of weirdness. So I usually just convert it to CMYK or RGB before I bring it over to Flexi, so that problem doesn't happen. So yeah, if you want to work in Flexi, you gotta, there's a way to do it. And when you're creating swatches, I don't remember exactly what the name of it is. If I remember, I'll put it in a screenshot or put it in the content. What are you talking about, Tim? Yeah, as far as answering that question on Flexi, Illustrator just has the most robust color change software that there is in all the design software, hands down. I'm familiar with them all. I'm familiar with Corel. I'm familiar with Flexi, Affinity Designer, and so hands down, Illustrator's just got the easiest way to change things out. So if you guys have any other questions, you can feel free to hit me up on srgfx.com/support. This seamless pack, it's going to be up either by the end of the day today or by mid-morning tomorrow. But everything that you've seen me do here, all of the seamless backgrounds have that possibility within them on srgfx.com. Just go to the top menu, shop, and then scroll down to seamless patterns or seamless backgrounds. All right. I appreciate you guys following along. I appreciate the questions. You guys have a great day.